No, just kidding. All right, so we are live. So this is going to be mandatory. Everybody watch us get on our phones. I'm just sharing the page. As you're hopping on, please say hello and share this page.
Hello.
Leah's going to sing for y'all while I share this.
Later. Nobody wants to be exposed to that. Nobody.
Are you going to share the page?
I've already shared the page, so I'm going to log in so I can see if anyone comments. Yep, turn your sound down.
Sound is down. Hey, Nick. Thanks for joining us.
He's always with us, isn't he?
Nick does like to jump in with us. Nick actually has given us more than one topic for our newsletter in the discussions he and I have to work sometimes. So Nick, thank you. You do contribute to us quite a bit. Turn your sound down. We'll give it another minute or so to give people time to hop on. Oh, hey, Leah has joined.
If you are here, please comment, let us know. We may not see you hop in, so just let us know if you are here.
And also comment to make sure that you can hear us and that our audio is okay.
Right. All that technical stuff.
Right.
And also, if you don't mind, please share our page or this video so people can join if you think they may be interested.
They should be interested in you. That Nick can hear us.
Oh, that's a double font.
Double. Better than a double other
That's
digits.
Cirrus.
O-N-G.
Cirrus. One thing I didn't think about, should we be hardwiring the laptop?
Well, this is the one that very rarely goes out. This is the one that has the internet problem.
I get it, but we used that the last time, and it shows the pixelized thingy.
Yeah, where is that 25 foot?
I just got it.
25-foot cord. Okay.
But we have like a bunch of landline things.
We might not even need the 25-foot cord. Look back there and see where is the modem on your side.
What do you mean? I can't unplug. What are you talking about? What will it plug into? You said I didn't need the 25-foot cord, so I need you to explain.
Yeah, we need 25-foot.
That's what I thought.
Hey, Ed. Hey, Brittany.
Oh, did you hear my bones popping and cracking?
Yeah, I thought you stepped on something there for a second.
Oh, foot bone.
We're trying to work out a couple of technical kinks here right off the bat. The laptop that we're using normally works out pretty well, but I know last time we used it towards the end of the feed, we had a little bit of pixelation, some feedback error there going on, so we had to start this live and restart it. So give us just another minute to get that up and rolling.
There you go.
25 feet of cat line. Meow.
Got a blanket because I'm freezing.
You're freezing and I'm burning up.
It happens.
get to the modem behind you here.
It's an orb.
Orb.
It's ironic you say that, and we'll get into that. These are on our TV. Orbs. These are on our TV, bottom right. Orb. Oh, I know it's got your influence orb activity over here.
Right here.
Actually, it's a white mist.
Yeah.
It's an enemy.
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 Sponsored by that too. Anyway. All right, so still running.
Yeah.
Austin has joined us.
Hello, Austin.
Hello, Austin. All right. Shall we get started or give it another minute or so?
It's a little dark. Look.
Look
at that.
Oh, it's spirit energy. No, actually, it's my energy. I formed this.
He's manipulating.
Oh my gosh.
He's manipulating. Hey, cool.
Guys, she broke it. She broke it.
No, I did not. Look. Okay,
Yeah, it's broken.
I just don't have the monkey grab on my toes like I used to.
Right. All right. So let's get this show on the road. So first thing we're going to start out with, because we've actually got some paranormal family out in that neck of the woods.
It's welcome. That's the first thing we're going to start out with. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thanks for
Okay,
joining
yeah.
Appreciate you being here.
Right.
If you think someone else that you know may enjoy this or whatever, please share this video so they can join us as well. Wow. Am I getting heckled by your friend?
I think you may be.
That's fine. So yes, thank you for coming. Come on, let's show
I still think this is one of our most entertaining episodes yet. I'll lean back whenever we actually start looking at the screen again, then I'll lean forward for this.
Look, we're high tech.
We're moving up in the world. Okay, so like Leah said, welcome. What I wanted to talk with some current events to start out with. We've got some paranormal family down in the Oklahoma area, and I don't know if any of y'all have been watching the weather here as of late. They have had a lot of tornadoes, rain, flooding. One of the towns down there in Muskogee, which if you remember watching a live video from several months ago, we actually went down there. A lot of that town has been flooded out. Tornadoes all over the place. We've got several friends down there, like I said, paranormal family members that have been affected by this, and we've been praying for them. They're all okay, but it's been really, really rough down there. I don't know if anybody saw the news, but there were a couple of barges that got loose and were flowing down the river and were on collision course with a dam, and they said that the dam was going to breach whenever the barges hit, and there was nothing that anybody could do about it. And if you go online and you find the video, they actually had a helicopter watching whenever the barges hit, and it's kind of
One of them sank almost immediately.
Mm-hmm. Hand of God kind of thing. If you watch how right before the barges hit the dam, they turn just slightly enough so that they hit in between the posts and don't slam directly into it. And the dam never did give, so that's kind of cool. But just wanted to report on that and tell everybody down there we're praying for them. Hope everything's all right. We've been staying in touch. So everything has been good.
Well, yeah, well, I wouldn't say everything has been good, but they're safe. but there's a lot of people and families that are
Right. The people that, when I say good, I mean, the people are the people we've been in touch with. But I know a lot of people have been displaced and are without home right now. So keep those people in your prayers. All right, so
What's the topic?
our topic tonight is orbs.
Can you see that? Let us know if you can see
Yeah.
some of the things that he's going to show you. We'll have to actually magnify it
Right.
on the screen. But even, you want to do a disclaimer? Even so, we're going to post.
Yeah, everything that we put up here, I'm going to post on our page. So if you can't see on the live stream, I will post it later so you can go back and look at it. But the whole purpose of this is, I wrote up here, orbs, is it proof of haunting? Not always. So anybody that has dealt with anything in the paranormal, the first thing that most people hear about is orbs, or what they think is spirit energy. Now, my personal disclaimer as I come into this is that I am not saying that there are not orbs out there that are of the paranormal variety. The whole purpose of this is an education to show that certain things can be mislabeled as paranormal when they're not. I have, and I know Leah has in the past, we've dealt with clients that will come forth with their cell phone or pictures and say, wow, I took this picture in my living room and look at all these orbs. And you can look at it, we can look at it and tell right off the bat that it's not exactly what they think that it is. So we're going to go into that here and try to educate everybody, kind of tell what different types of orbs are, and try to kind of tell the difference between the real and not real.
Before you get started, they were hearing some kind of strange noise that started playing. That was kind of creepy. What did it sound like? Wait just a minute, because there's a delay.
Yeah.
It's strange, which it went away, but it was like a distortion over you guys, but y'all's voices were normal.
Growls.
Weird. I know last night I was watching a live feed, but it wasn't anything here. It was evidently the person that was doing the live feed where they were located. There had been some storms in the area and they were having issues with their Wi-Fi. But it was distorting noise, and then eventually the live feed actually ended. But could be our connection.
Right. It might have happened it might have something to do with the fact that we did just hardline the laptop, so that might have done it too. So, but if anything else happens, guys, please let us know. Keep us up to date on audio, visual on your guys' end.
Okay, good. It's not
All right.
Yeah, and if you have, always, if you have a question or if you want to interject maybe a personal experience or just a comment or whatever to what he's talking about, please do. We love interaction.
Right.
So.
It's like I said in our advertisement over the week, it is mandatory. So at least one person's got to ask a question.
Yeah.
So fight amongst yourselves, vote someone off the island and ask a question. Both of us have our chat open. I've got my phone over here with it on the side so I can see if anybody asks anything, and Leah's also manning it as well. So if one of us misses it, the other one will catch it.
I'm warming it.
She's warming it. Anyway, so onward to orbs. So some people are going to, this may be a little bit of a controversial subject in itself because a lot of, like I said in the beginning, a lot of people, as soon as they get that proverbial orb picture, they immediately think that it has to do with something of the paranormal. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. Going into some research as I was doing on this, there's actually a photographic term for this, and it's called backscatter. Are you familiar with that?
Backscatter?
Backscatter.
No, I've never heard it.
So the definition of backscatter, it's also referred to as near camera reflection. It's an optical phenomenon resulting in typically circular artifacts on an image due to the camera's flash being reflected from unfocused motes of dust, water droplets, or other particles in the air or water, especially common with modern compact and ultra compact digital cameras.
What did you just say?
So in layman's terms, because I just gave you the dictionary definition, the layman's terms is whenever your camera produces the flash, you've got the lens and the flash. Now, everyone who knows anything about cameras knows that the lens and the flash are not always lined up. So the flash flashes one direction while the lens is directing another. Anything in front of that lens between you and the subject that you're taking, no matter how minuscule it may be, if it's dust, an insect, water droplets, pet dander, hair, anything like that, if it's close enough to the camera, the lens of the camera to pick up, that flash will hit it, and then it will reflect back on the camera. It'll make it look like there's something there that's bigger than it should be.
And the cameras nowadays, just even on your cell phone, are so high pixelized and detailed now that, I mean, they pick up the smallest of things that we don't even notice.
Well, I think it's funny about this particular picture that I picked right here up in Orb is it actually looks like
Zoom into that.
it's a dust orb.
There's some features.
It's a dust orb, but it looks like the Death Star from Star Wars. It looks like pollen, which it could be.
Does.
It could be. That's the thing.
It has a really fuzzy. I know you may not be able to see it, but of course we'll post these pictures. But it kind of has hair-like structures all along the perimeter. It looks almost like like a little dust ball.
What makes me think of it being pollen is a grain of pollen has this little dip right here in the middle. There's a little. It's again hard to see in this picture, but there's a spot right here in it. And this is actually, you mentioned the fuzziness around the edge there. That's actually one of the distinguishing qualities of a dust orb. So you're already getting ahead. Very good. All right, so this picture, this is actually from my own collection, and I'll zoom in on some of this. This was taken in the tunnels at Hales Bar. Let me see. Now, if anybody can see, like I said, I'll zoom in on some of it, but you're going to notice as you look down this dark hallway, there's all these little orbs, and I know actually closer to Leah, you can see them better.
Yeah.
You can see these little white dots.
Right here and right here, you can see those.
Let me zoom in on some of those so you guys can actually get a really good look at that. Okay. You see, and actually, if you're up close, this one right here specifically, it even looks like it has a rainbow edge on it, which is kind of interesting. But to the untrained eye, someone would look at this and go, my goodness, look at all the paranormal activity in this hallway. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of paranormal activity in this hallway. but these orbs are not what you think they are. This is dust. I'll show the next one. It'll be kind of more clear as to what it is. But anytime you're in an abandoned location, or even, I hate to say it, a place that hasn't been cleaned too well, whether it be abandoned or not.
Well, I mean, it's an underground tunnel.
Correct.
So everybody's down there sweeping and mopping.
There's going to be dust. And I think at the time this picture was taken, there was probably 6 of us in the tunnel at the time. Five or six. Four, well,
4 or 5.
We'll say between 4 and 6 just to compromise there. But I took this picture. Everyone else is on the opposite side of the camera of me. I took the picture down the hallway. Everybody's behind me. But that many people tromping and stomping in the hallway, because this is concrete. and it's old, it's dilapidated, there's pieces of concrete falling from it, you're kicking up dust. So whenever you're kicking up people, 4 to 5, 6 people walking around kicking up that much dust, you're going to get stuff like this in your pictures. All right, next one. This picture was taken at South Pittsburgh Hospital, and the date actually is correct on that picture. This picture is 11 years old.
Was this the first time anybody had ever been in it? I know we were one of the first groups to ever go into it, but I didn't know.
That is true. I think this may be the second visit,
one.
but they happened within 3 months of one another.
Right,
so I mean, we were in there pretty quick. So the first thing I want to point out is if you look on the floor, what's the first thing you see on the floor?
Okay.
Piles of dirt, dust. Here's an audio recorder, if anybody can see that. But I mean, you see just all this dirt and dust. Now, when we went into this place, the first thing, the place had been shut down since '93.
Yes.
Yes, because actually, interesting factoid, the place shut down in 1993. We went there in 2008. I happened to go into a closet that had still had some paperwork and record keeping information in it. And laying on top of the desk in there was a logbook that had been opened up, and I forgot what had been notated in it. But the date in the logbook was exactly 15 years from the day that we were there.
I had actually me personally, have been in it a year or 2 years before it shut down, when it was actually operating.
Mm-hmm.
Went and visited somebody there, but yeah, it was just maybe a year or 2 years after that it shut down. Because they opened Grandview in Jasper.
Now even Grandview's gone. So maybe in 15 years, that'll be the next Comic Hospital.
There's a lot of reason for that.
But anyway, let me zoom in on some of these as well. Y'all can see that. I mean, kind of perfectly lined up there. That's kind of cool looking. But each one is dust.
And typically, Mike, when you have that much, I mean, shouldn't you be suspicious anyway that it is probably dust? Especially when a lot of these are in abandoned buildings or even homes.
Right.
I mean, we, of course, are constantly shedding skin, which is dust. So, even in a home, even if you, what do you call it, dust every weekend or a couple times a week, we shed so much skin. And if you, of course, have more than one person living in the home, then that's double, triple, whatever.
Right. So, one thing I'll add in here. So, dust orbs are the biggest culprit that you see in most paranormal photographs, or where people think that, they say that it's paranormal. Now, again, like I said, initial disclaimer, I'm not saying that there are not legitimate paranormal spirit orbs. The way to tell the difference, and also let me add, since this is a PowerPoint, I don't have any video in it, but if this was a video shot, the difference between like an actual orb and a dust orb looks like snow when it falls. It just falls randomly, kind of like watching snow fall. Insulation does the same thing. Insulation out of an attic or a roof or even out of the walls can cause this kind of phenomenon. But in a video, dust falls like snow. It has no path. Now, if you see something that kind of stops and then moves and changes direction, you may actually want to take a look into that. But stick with us. I've got more on that later. A spirit orb will actually produce its own light. And when it moves, it will have what they call a contrail or a tail. I've heard different descriptions saying it'll look like a small comet flying through your picture shot or through your video, or it'll look like someone has legitimately thrown like a ping pong ball with a light inside of it. So when you see the orb on the screen or in your picture, it will be almost said cylindrical, spherical, and it'll have its own light. And it'll actually, if you actually take it where you can edit the photograph, you can tell that it's actually three-dimensional as well. So,
Well,
we're going to get a question or something.
well, no, I just, honestly, in my experience, I don't think I have ever come across a spirit orb. If it's been spirit related or is an energy, it's not been in a spherical shape.
Okay.
It's been in like the street or the rock.
The rod, yeah.
And I can't remember the term, but Ed Warren gave a specific term for it. He called it a something rod. Maybe let me Google that while you.
All right.
What is your experience been?
Okay, so, I mean, I have, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because I've got some.
Oh, and if that does, just carry on and say I'll address that in a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say I've got some stuff that we'll show up here in a little bit. But dust seems to be the most common that is mistaken for paranormal activity. Now, what you want to do whenever you're taking pictures, the first thing I'm going to tell you, if you're doing an investigation or you've taken a picture in your home and a light, an orb of some sort has appeared, take more than one picture. Take another picture in the same spot and see if you can recreate it. Because you're going to see in some photos that I showed down the way that there's other things in your home that can cause that same type of effect. Bring up this next shot, and this is one thing I'll definitely share on our page. This is going to be a little bit difficult to see, but these are all, excuse me, different types of dust orbs that have been photographed, and they all kind of have that same vision. They all have the furry edge around them. Let me zoom in on one here. I'll take this biggest one. Wasn't much of a zoom. You look around the edge here, it has the kind of furry edge. It's slightly transparent. They're blurred. If you notice, none of them are really clearly defined. Even in the clear pictures that are taken by digital camera, they're going to show fuzzy looking, blurry. You can see through them. This one right here actually has refracted upon itself because here's the actual orb, and then behind it is a mirror, a reflection of the orb. So that camera flash caught this dust twice whenever it took. They also have a bright ring around that outer edge with the center being neon, and again, very transparent. And if you notice, like this one, let me take my hand out of the way, you can see that circle around the edge it's a very hard line with that fuzz to it, and then it kind of diminishes when it gets towards the middle. Did you find out what kind of rod it was?
A light rod?
The power of Google, folks.
I thought it was going to be something just
All right.
fancy word.
Fancy
A light rod.
All right.
That'll work.
Does anybody have any questions about dust orbs before I move forward?
Or have you experienced anything? If you're an investigator, or maybe if you looked on the subject or wondered about something.
So I need to find a video that I made a couple of years ago. I did it as a training exercise for some investigators coming on board, a team we used to be with. I actually created a fake ghost video. I'm sorry. I used
No, it's for training
purposes. I have not released this video to the public. I have only shown it to those people, and I asked them to tell me what they thought. Here's the video. What do you think of it? And the only thing I used was a iPhone and a tablet. I took the iPhone, I recorded using the slow-mo function of the camera, and before I turned on the camera, I took this towel in front of me in a semi-dark room, and I whipped the towel in the air 2 or 3 times and started recording in slow-mo. So whenever we played the video back, you see all this dust that had kicked up from the towel in slow-mo, moving really, really kind of deliberate. But all the orbs looked like this. And then yes, that's where I'm getting at. So I couldn't have planned this any better. One of Miss Leah's hairs was evidently in that towel. And it comes at the camera at an arc like that. Comes out of nowhere at the camera, past it. It looks like what people have described as a vortex. So keep that in mind as well. Hair in the air, that run, can also cause the same type of phenomenon, that backscatter, as it's called in photography. Nick says, guess dust orbs explains why the Ghostbusters used vacuums.
That makes sense.
Yes. Funny thing, our church has those vacuums that go on your back that looks like a proton vac. Anyway. All right, so next shot here. So this was actually on, this picture is really old. This was done in a cemetery in Dalton. Now, to give a little bit of a backstory to it, the cemetery, and I'm not going to disclose the location, but suffice it's in Dalton, Georgia. There was a lady that had contacted us that was in the process of writing a book about the haunted areas in northwestern Georgia. So she contacted us, wanted us to go down to do this investigation of this specific cemetery because it had a long storied history in the community. So we went down there. We actually had permission to be there. The local police force knew that we were there. Yes, we made sure that all of our I's were dotted, our T's were crossed. Because most people, when they go out and investigate cemeteries, they don't do that. They just go out.
Hey, let's all pile up and go down and get a thrill.
And I'm not going to say that I had never done that. I mean, in my younger days, I mean, that's what we did. But looking back now, that's not the way to do it. People can get hurt. That's trespassing. It's illegal. You can go to jail. So I'm saying, please don't do that. But whenever we went out, like I said, we had made sure that we had permission. The police knew we were there. We actually were out there 2 nights and got some interesting evidence there. So it's hard to tell from this particular shot. So this is me, and I'm holding a thermometer. And there's another investigator got her hand out. We're testing a cold spot right here. Now, I don't recall who it is that took this picture, but it looks like what could be mistaken as a small orb or light anomaly on top of my hand right here. However, if you look at the color of the thermometer in my hand, the screen is an LED screen that is that LED green color, that spinach green, whatever you want to call it. That's
neon green?
What do you call it?
Neon green? Yeah,
that works. I was going to say like Game Boy, old school Game Boy green. But that coupled, the light source from that, coupled with the color of the thing, is what is giving off that light source. So whenever you're taking pictures in an area where there's other equipment being used, you have to be careful to not misinterpret that as something that it's not. City lights, if you're outside, if you're taking pictures in the city and there's street lights, if you juggle that camera, excuse me, you juggle that camera just so slightly, that street light will move headlights and tail lights off of vehicles, not even when they're on, because they reflect when the light hits them. They can also cause this phenomenon that could be mistaken as something potentially paranormal. And I've got to take a quick drink, I'm sorry. Get some tea. Do what? Well, that's where you're supposed to jump in and say, hey, I wasn't at this investigation, but this was pretty cool.
Hey, I wasn't at this investigation. But yeah, it looks like what's that show? Something Unite, Activate, Unite, Power Rangers or something.
Oh,
Captain Planet.
I don't know. Are we fixing the
Captain Planet.
He's are here? All right, so next picture. So there's only one thing you can actually see in this picture because it's so dark, and it's right over there next to Leah's head.
Huh?
All right, so this is also in that same cemetery. So the first night that we went was not a good night at all for photographic evidence because it had rained 3 days prior and it actually was still misting while we were there. So unfortunately, whenever you've got a lot of moisture in the air, you end up with this kind of orb. And this is a moisture orb. So the word moisture.
Oh,
Here, I'll say rain. A rain orb. Let's call it that.
what? No, that's not better. Never mind.
So, because water acts like a mirror, whenever light hits it, these are generally going to be brighter than a dust orb. But as you can still, when you look at it, it's transparent.
But you look at it.
And when you just look at
When
it,
you just look at it.
let me zoom in on it for everybody.
Look at it. You just look at that. Look at it. Just look at it. Look at that.
Look at that.
Look. And it's got that present feature too.
Yeah.
With a kind of halo around it.
And that's actually, thank you, Leah, that's one of the biggest distinguishing features of a water orb. Is that word there? Yeah, moisture orb. Same type of effect because it's going to be brighter because of the reflecting action of the water, but it's still going to be, it's going to have that transparency. It's going to have the aura. It does have like a little red aura around the orb. Rain does this. It shows up on camera. Sometimes it's a series of bright circles or smudges. So that one is that, and that is that. It's kind of funny when you watch that zoom across the screen. Watch it.
Anybody want to comment anything?
That'll be awfully quiet.
I know I don't like it.
Um,
I'm sure. That matters.
This will end up being a really short show tonight.
I hope not.
I know. So these are pictures, examples of the moisture orbs. Now, moisture orbs, you'll notice, will come in a variety of different colors. Which I read an article yesterday that talked about what different colored orbs signify, but I'm not going to go into that. I don't know if I was entertained because it was interesting or entertained because, oh my God, they actually believe this. But anyway.
We've received pictures from folks that say, hey, check out these pictures, I took them. And then when we ask questions surrounding it, if they've been in a cemetery, we've heard this quite a bit. It's either rained the day before or just finished raining or something like that, or even, of course, we're in the awesome humid South. Even humidity, I mean, that's moisture in the air. So, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to rain in order for these to appear. It can be any moisture in the air.
I mean, it was so hot today when I went to the grocery store. I saw these two short guys carrying the rain up. Look at them. But no, she's right. Even the humidity in the air can cause that. Actually, another thing, I don't have any pictures of this. Actually, I do, but I don't. I've got a similar effect that I pulled up, but sun flare. Whenever you take a picture with the sun in the same shot, you're normally going to get a lens flare off the sun anyway, but if there's high moisture content in the air, whether it be rain, fog, humidity, anything of that nature, it can cause what looks like a second sun or a orb or a streak of light actually coming from the sun. There's actually a natural effect for that too, where if there's enough moisture in the air, it will actually look like there's two suns in the sky. This is without taking the picture. You can see this with your own eyes. It's called a sundial. Yeah. Very interesting stuff.
Did you say updog?
It's a dog. Causes the different colors, Ed. I don't really have a straight answer for that because I haven't found a straight answer for it. The only thing that I can assume,
Go ahead.
of course, different type of lighting is going to do it. It's also going to determine what is in the background behind the light, behind the moisture. Because like I said, whenever that water droplet basically acts as a magnifying glass. So if this particular orb right here is purple, which that's weird, it's purple on my screen, but it looks blue on yours. If there's a purple, something purple or whatever behind this, whenever I take the picture, it's going to take on that color. Leah.
Or is the same concept of rainbows. I mean, you have all those colors from the prism spectrum there. So it just depends on, I guess, how sunlight or lighting hits, and depending on the reflection or the refraction, actually, will determine what color of that prism will be more common. That would be. Hey, Randy.
Because whenever I did my research, the biggest thing that I found about the different color orbs were different levels of spirits. So I can answer that question as far as if it was a spirit orb, but for the moisture orbs, the scientific method I would go to on that one is like what Leah said with the prism effect, or like I said, it's reflecting whatever it is that's closest to it, or the flash of the light that's on it.
I mean, you've seen rainbows where not all the colors of the spectrum are clear.
Right.
You may see more of certain colors depending on, I guess, how it's that refraction is hitting.
It said Skittles, and this does look like a bag of Skittles. So, yeah. Except for this one, it looks like a
I
brown.
want to feel it.
This looks like a brown M&M. I think
I'll go for
that would be the biggest sin anybody could commit, is to mix Skittles and M&M in the same bowl. Talk about a party in your mouth.
Seriously.
No. All right, so next photograph. This next one was also taken in the cemetery.
Do you just hang out at cemeteries there, Michael?
No, I hang out at abandoned hospitals and old dams too. So basically, the reason why I've got so many of these photographs from the cemetery is because this was the first investigation that our team, my old team, did back in 2007, 2006, I can't remember.
It does look like a lightsaber.
Yeah. So this investigation was kind of eye-opening as far as learning how our investigative methods, what we were doing, what we weren't doing right. So I've got a lot of stuff from that investigation that I use to this day as kind of ways to not do things. So that's why I've got so many pictures of the cemetery. This one is interesting because the first thing that people are going to notice, obviously, is the huge Leah put in lightsaber.
Well, Ed brought it up.
Yeah, it's lightsaber.
Lightsaber?
It looks like it's coming out of your head right now. Or actually, if I hold it like this, I guess I'm stabbing.
Oh, you did.
No. So anyway, it's an odd light source. Could potentially look like a vortex. What is it? Camera strap. Star Trek. Yeah, on Star Trek. Yeah. Now this is
The lightsaber is from the movie Star Trek.
This is a camera strap. So when the camera strap fell in front of the flash, fell in front of the lens, it reflected the flash of the light back at me. Boom, here's a picture. You can do the same thing by accidentally putting your thumb or your finger too close to the aperture whenever the picture is taken. It can put off a glow, or it'll look like I've seen people actually put their finger in the shot and it looks like a head trying to lean into the picture.
Oh, like the tip of the finger?
Yeah, doing the tip of their finger or their thumb or whatever. But the camera that we were using had a camera strap on it, and when the camera was brought up to take the picture, it was moved too fast. The strap flashed up, and boom, the picture was taken. So I showed this picture to, actually I was showing this group of pictures to another investigator that was part of another team. And the first thing once I pointed this out, I actually just kind of skipped over it. I was like, oh look, we accidentally got the camera strap in. And he was like, wait a minute, what is that? So let me zoom in on that for you. And it's going to be difficult to see, but once I post this picture regularly, you'll be able to make that out a little bit better. But on first glance, it looks like a fairy because it's got what looks like a head, a body, and wings coming off of it. Smoke will give a similar effect. And I've got something to add to that as soon as I get done with this. So in looking at this picture closer, you can actually see.
Tinkle Bell?
You can see the other legs from the mosquito coming off of it. It's a mosquito, which of course made this picture now. It's, first of all, it's kind of a blur because we got the camera strap in it, but I thought, man, that's really cool. I caught a mosquito. That's impressive. But this is something else that can happen in your pictures. This also happens on video quite a bit. The infrared light, especially that comes off of a camera, comes off the night vision camera, it's the same effect as a flash. It's just on a light level that we can't see unless you're using an infrared camera. So when that light reflects off of a bug that gets close enough to the camera, you're going to get that effect where you've seen it on all the ghost shows where it'll come into the frame and then it'll stop and it'll change direction and it'll come up here. 75 to 80% of the time you see those, it's from an insect. Now, I'll bring up this picture while I'm still talking, because that's a lot of different insect style orbs. Most of it, and see right here's one that looks very similar to the picture that I posted.
Yeah, that kind of pan around.
Yeah. But like right here, looks a lot like the one. I mean, some of them even. Actually, this is the section of the thing I wanted to see because it's got the most. Because this one right here looks almost like an airplane. But these right here are even circular. I mean, they look like orbs. So we have here at our home, we've got security cameras set up, and we have one that is pointed out our back door. And Leah has sent me multiple videos in the past where it's very cool. I mean, we know that it's a spider because you'll walk out there and see the spider has built a web around the camera and we'll have to knock it down. But if you see that spider crawl in front of that IR camera at night, it looks just like that. And you can't see the web, so all you see is the glowing light moving in front of the camera. It's a really, really interesting effect to see it firsthand.
Even gnats. Remember how you can get like a whole bunch of gnats that fly together? When it goes across the security camera, it looks like, I mean, each individual looks round, so it looks like a whole bunch of spirit energy, I guess.
So something that Ed said in regards to the previous picture. I'll back up here. It won't be quite this bright, but smoke can have the same type of effect whenever you. I just went completely blank. I'm sorry. Whenever you're on an investigation, if you take a picture and there's any type of smoke, if someone is smoking in the area. If you're smoking, I don't recommend it. If there's something burning and there's smoke in the air, smoke can do the same type of effect. it will reflect back, and it can look like what people will call ectoplasmic energy. I actually have, if I'd had time to find it, I would dig it out, but my mother took a picture at a bar many years ago.
Hey.
There was a live music act there, and she was taking a picture, seeing her up on stage, and there is what looks like someone who took a streamer and threw it at him, and it's just as clear as day. I mean, it's as bright as this right here in the picture, and it's plain cigarette smoke. That's all it is. So that's why one of the rules of investigating is if you're taking pictures somewhere, don't smoke. Don't smoke, period. But anyway, don't smoke whenever you're taking pictures because that can contaminate your evidence. Hey Vera, thanks for joining us.
Well, yeah, or even if you're like at a commercial location, I mean, I hope you wouldn't be smoking in somebody's residence.
Right.
But I mean, even if you're in a commercial place that may be open or whatever, if there's any potential of paranormal smells, then that's going to contaminate that.
Right.
And heavy perfume or any perfumes, anything that can be picked up, or if a breeze blows a certain way and picks up your cologne or perfume, or if you're smoking anything like that, then it can be picked up by another investigator and they may think it's something paranormal.
Just please wear deodorant.
Well, I mean, that should be a daily given no matter where you are.
PSA from Paranormal Health, wear deodorant every day.
Yeah.
Wow. Ed adds in cold weather. Yes, sir. Cold weather will do that because, again, it's that moisture in the air. The moisture, whenever it's cold. Yes, vapor from your breath. Moisture in the air when it's cold, snow when it's freezing. Again, you get that same light refraction / reflection effect that you would with a moisture orb. All right. Hey, Shannon. Thanks for joining. All right, next picture here.
Yeah, if anybody else has popped on, say hey.
Yeah, please. So this one I'm gonna have to zoom in on the actual effect here. So this was at a private residence investigation that we did several years ago, and this is a picture done in a bedroom, a shelf. Now what this is there is an IR camera sitting right here. Now the first thing you're going to notice is this big ball, big blaring light right here. This is a bookshelf that looks like it's maybe a cherry colored with a gloss finish on it. So when you take a picture, this should be common sense, you would think. When you take a picture of something like that has a reflective surface, you're going to get that effect. Now on my picture, it's not as harsh. On the camera there, it looks really bright. Now that's not the main reason that I took this picture, or that I'm bringing this picture up. If you look at the IR camera, which is right here, if it's hard to tell, here's the IR lights. They all glow purple in my shot. Well, if you look right behind the camera that looks like an orb here, it looks like a purple orb, it's the infrared light.
And it looks like you have, that's just cords.
Yeah, those are the cords plugged into the back of the camera. But what we did, this was an investigation done with another team. And one of the things that this particular investigator did, whenever he would set up his cameras, he wanted to go through and have pictures taken of each camera of where it's located for cataloging purposes, and also to make sure that wherever we put the cameras, we didn't damage anything that belonged to the homeowner, so that when we took the cameras out, everything sitting here looked just as it did before we set everything up.
Another PSA, whenever you go to a location, especially a residence, Okay, just to cover yourself. It's best before the investigation team comes in or whatever. Just go through the home and just take baseline photographs of every room. That way, if by chance anyone comes back and says, hey, you stole this or you were, this is moved or missing or whatever, you could show, hey, this is where it was or wasn't, depending on where they say it's at. And then also before you leave, take those pictures as well. And it would be wise, which are most digital things now, that it's date and time.
And you still may catch paranormal activity while taking those pictures. So,
And then there's that too.
You're you're covering all your bases and you're still investigating at the same time. A lot of people, and this is going off track, want to get into that, they get stuck in that whole, they get stuck in this whole rut that, it's got to be dark outside before we investigate. It's got to be night. It's got to be midnight. It's got to be 3 o'clock in the morning.
If it's legit paranormal activity, I mean, it should be there all the time, unless it's something transient or comes and goes. But typically, I mean, it's there all the time. It may change personalities or become more intense or whatever, and it's especially if it's demonic in nature. Of course, it's going to really act out more in its comfortable environment, which is dark. But, yeah, go ahead.
No, residual hauntings are the same way. Because a residual, if for most that don't know, residual haunting is basically like a tape recording, a video of something just on a continuous loop, and it may actually be on a time frame as well. That's why you hear these stories of, if you go down to the washed out bridge at 3 o'clock in the morning, the headless horseman will come after that kind of thing. That's where a lot of those legends come from, is that residual energy is on a time frame because somebody was murdered at 2:37. So their murder is reenacted spiritually at 2:37 every 31st of October, that kind of thing. So the paranormal, except in situations like that, the paranormal really doesn't have a time schedule. It will show up when you least expect it. It will show up when you don't want to expect it. So daytime, nighttime, it doesn't matter. So whenever you go to a location, like Leah said, take your pictures for baseline. It also helps you scout out your location because you want to go in the daylight anyway before you scout out any place. We actually, a few months ago, we went to, I know we posted some pictures of it. We scouted out an old penitentiary up in Tennessee. It's in Tennessee, right? We didn't cross into Kentucky. Okay. We went to go check out this penitentiary with the intention that maybe we would come back and actually investigate it. Unfortunately, it's one of those pay money to investigate kind of things, and they ask it for a little more than what we would want to pay to do it.
It's a cool place.
It's a really cool place. I mean, 100% go there during the day, because regardless, wipe the paranormal completely out of it, guys. The place just has an air about it. I mean, there are people anybody that has ever visited any type of prison, anyone that has worked in a prison, I'm talking to you, Ed, you just kind of get this finality about the place because there's people that spent their last days, their last hours in that place.
There's just a lot of emotion and energy there. I mean, naturally, any place like that. But yeah, I mean, it's cool in itself, aside from paranormal. I mean, if anybody that likes history or just places like that, it's just really neat to visit. But I mean, we do like to go to commercial places and investigate. Most of them, of course, are super pricey, which a lot of those facilities are massive. So I think I understand what the upkeep must be.
They've got to make money just to keep it running, to keep it safe, because some of these places, like that penitentiary, the whole thing wasn't open to the public yet because not all of it had been deemed safe, and it takes money to do all that. I understand it.
But I mean, most of our focus is, of course, helping people. So we tend to, we will always give priority to individuals, especially in their homes or businesses that need peace and to figure out what's going on. But yeah, it's really neat. It can be very financially draining if you go to all those commercial places. But I mean, we're not against it. It's just not our main focus.
Well, I've always looked at it, and I know I said this, for those of you that have been following us for a while, I said this in our Bobby Mackey video whenever we traveled down to investigate Bobby Mackey's musical. Even though it's a commercial location, if we go down there and we can find out something about what's going on there that could potentially be of assistance to anybody else coming in to investigate some type of method that would keep them safe, or something that we did that found out we shouldn't have done, if we can pass that message along to anybody else going in to investigate, I feel like we're still doing a help in that. So, I mean, because the whole core purpose of our ministry is to educate, empower, and part of the education of that is just, I mean, to teach investigators, teach homeowners, educating homeowners on what's going on and what they have. But I mean, we're also here to help investigators, because there's some people out there that, whether they want to admit it or not, I mean, that there's some stuff that they don't know how to do, or they don't know what to do. They want to get into the field. They have a genuine interest. They have the heart for it, but they may not know how to go about things, and that's where we come in. So,
well, I mean, the paranormal community as a whole, we should be here to help each other. We all have different experiences. We've all encountered different things that the others have not encountered at all, and that can even be at the same location. So I have an issue with, or be wary, or I don't want to say suspicious, but be on your guard if you ever come across an investigator that says or states that they know it all. There's no way that you can be an expert in this field. Yes, you may have gleaned a lot of experiences and information once, depending on how many years that you've been in the field. But even so, I just find it hard for anybody that states that they are an expert. An expert to me means that you have fulfilled all requirements in all avenues, in all subject matter, in all areas within that field, and that you are kind of the authority on all things. And there's no way that you can be in this field. There's so many unknowns. Everybody has different experiences, even on the same night in the same place, that there's no way for you to determine that. And that's just my personal opinion.
I mean, there's a difference between an experienced investigator and an expert investigator. There are experienced investigators, but the expert investigator, I'm with her. I don't think if you say you're an expert, you're wrong. I think that again, take the paranormal out of it. You should always be continuously bettering and learning anything that you do. Someone once told me it's like being a tomato. You always want to stay green, because once you become red, what's the next step? You're rotten. You're no good anymore. So.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that other investigators can learn from us, and then there's a lot of things that we can learn from other investigators. I mean, now with that being said, be very cautious of who or what teams you follow. Be mindful of that, because there are some out there that say that they have an intention for the good, but can actually what about my reflection? Just because we've hit the over hour mark. But I'm sorry. What was I saying?
Teams that come in that have good intentions,
right? But I mean, I don't think I've ever come across a team or an individual that says, I'm in this for the to cause harm. But there's a lot of things that they may do, or their investigation practices that do cause harm, and whether it's intentional or not intentional, or for entertainment value or for the thrill value. Yeah, just be mindful of that. As long know who you are learning from. In other words, understand their integrity, what their passion is for the field, what their focus, all of that. You want to look at all those aspects before you're just following anybody because they may have a good persona, or they're really cool, or they get to go to all these awesome locations. Just be cautious of who you learn from. There's only
how do I put
there's
this?
a very small few group that I actually would watch, or that I would have conversations with or learn from. It's very small.
If you're looking for a team to actually come and help you with something that's going on, do your research on your teams.
Absolutely.
Because there are, and this is where I wanted to tread lightly because it's going to sound negative, but it's not. There are some teams that all they do is data collect. And there is nothing wrong with that. I am not shooting that in the foot by any means. There is nothing wrong with data collection because
it's necessary.
That you have to have data collection in order to find out what's going on. But if you've got something going on in your home where you're scared to sleep at night and you need somebody to come in and teach you to remove it or help you remove it or have it removed, that's probably going to be outside the scope of that data collection team. You may have to have someone else come in as well. I mean, I'm saying if you just need somebody to come in and say, hey, I got something going on, can you find out what it is? Then, a team like that's going to be fine. But do your research and make sure if they're not the ones that can take care of it, ask if they have references of people that can. Because if you got, stuff spinning around the room in your house and you call in a team that all they do is data collect, they're going to get all the data in the world, but you're still going to have all that stuff flying around in your room, in your house.
And we've had teams contact us and say, hey, we've got this case. It's out of our scope. We're not really sure about if we could really be of any benefit to the client. I have mad respect for teams like that, to understand their limit and what they can provide, and then also reach out and say, hey, still going and saying, I'm going to still help you as the client, but let me get you in touch with some individuals that are going to be able to help you with what's actually going on here, because it's just kind of out of our scope. We don't really deal with that. We're not prepared to deal with that. So let me get you in touch with people that do specialize or handle that. I have a lot of respect for teams like that. Also, since this came up a couple of months ago, there was a team that was advertising to charge that they could guarantee to get rid of this or that, and they had a fee schedule based on what the issue is. You should, as a client, homeowner, business owner, whatever, you should never have to pay for any help. In this field, that's just unethical.
And unless she's looking at the chat, she just answered your question without.
That's why.
Okay.
I was trying to subtly segue into it, but thanks.
I don't think anytime.
I don't think it's never appropriate. Never appropriate. Okay, I can help you, to get peace of mind, but we can set up a payment schedule. Hey, give me $50, every other week or whatever until we we get your $500 bill paid down. I just cannot conceive that mentality or that thought process. There is no price that you could ever put on anything to give someone peace in their own home or business or whatever situation they're going through. I mean, why? We don't have to pay for peace to have in our own home. So
No.
it should, that's just horrible. I think it's terrible.
I mean, we're part of a ministry, guys. Do you think that it would be ethical to walk into your local church and say, I want to accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and the preacher looks at you and says, I can do it for you for $100?
And that's, kind of getting off topic too. I don't want to trail in this area, but that's why I have a lot of issues with ministries or churches or whatever that charge for like a prayer cloth. Even if they ask for a donation, and it may not actually be a full-on charge. I mean, a donation is still a charge. Hey, you give me some monetary compensation, and I'll send you an anointed prayer cloth. I have an issue with that. Why should that ever be charged for? But anyway, that's my own soapbox. So moving on.
Yeah. Like I say, if anybody ever asked me for an anointed prayer cloth, I would take care of it at no charge. So I understand what you're saying.
We don't charge for anything.
No.
Nothing.
So
we wouldn't charge if, just saying, hey, I've been hearing some weird sounds. You mind just come by the house and check? Well, for a $100 consultation fee, we'll come by and check out your
I'll take
facility.
2 cheeseburgers and a large sweet tea.
No.
There.
I mean, we traveled all the way to Oklahoma to help some folks out, and I mean, they were so kind and gracious. They, put us up in the home for the whole weekend that we were there. Oh gosh, they fed us wonderfully.
Right.
Woo!
And we had made
We
had made plans to stay, in a motel or hotel, whatever we could find, because we were going to go down there regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, they allowed us to
needed help. We wanted to be there for them, and that's all that mattered to us. That was our focus. So we never asked for any compensation, but yeah, they were very kind and gracious, and they did. I mean, we are not by any means independently wealthy or in a financial way that we can just, traipsy here and there and just lodge at hotels and stuff. I mean, if it ever came down to it, I mean, I would sleep in the car.
We have before.
Oh shoot, I have.
We both have.
Okay, so we have been to a location actually where we slept in the car, just to be there and to be a help and assistance. But yeah, it's I just please don't ever be fooled by you're going to get a better service. Actually, you're probably going to get a crappier service if you do pay for something. There's no guarantees in this field. And a lot of this, especially if it's of demonic origin, that, I mean, there's going to be some lifestyle changes required of the client. So it really depends on the level of commitment from the homeowner or business owner of what, you're just going to be all in or not at all, because we can't, and we have turned down clients like to bless their home or to clear their home because they weren't willing to take the other steps personally in their own lives that they needed to take in order to maintain that clearing or that, to get all of that junk out of their house. And we would actually be doing them more harm by blessing or getting rid of, exercising, whatever term you understand or use. We would have done them more harm than good if we had just done that and not taken care of the individual. It's everything involved, your home and the individual.
I can come in with a vacuum cleaner and clean your house and spray for bugs and get rid of everything. But if you continue to throw your Coke cans and everything on the floor, all of your filth is going to come back.
And even more so.
Yeah.
So
So
that's scriptural.
So we went on a really long tangent there.
Sorry.
No. It was good. It was good. Coming back to this picture, just trying to bring it back in. So where I was going with this, whenever I mentioned the penitentiary, this is how far away we got. We went there. So the whole point was we're talking about taking pictures of the location before you start investigating to make sure everything is as it was when you got there. Because you want to scope out your location, and also mention scoping out during the day. When we went to look at this prison, we went during the day to look at it. We actually went and took the tour, the daytime tour. And I had a couple of people actually give me a hard time saying, oh, you're a paranormal investigator and you had to go up there during the day. Oh, what kind of person are you? It has nothing
Smart.
Smart, thank you. It has nothing to do with the paranormal aspect. It's my personal safety. When you go into a place, we have been in homes, businesses, outdoor locations that if we had not gone there during the day, there could have been potential risk for injury. Holes in the floor,
and we're talking
weak places in the floor.
This is not just abandoned homes, lived-in homes that have been detrimental to the health.
Right.
That people are still residing in. If we had not went during the day, we wouldn't have been able to see the full gravity of the living situation, and it would have been dangerous to our health.
So if you're ever investigating or scoping out a place during the day and someone makes fun of you for it, just slap them in the face. Don't really do that. That was mean. But you know what I mean. It means nothing. I mean, you're being a smart investigator.
Yeah,
by doing
it just makes sense. I mean, why wouldn't you? And there's been some instances where we haven't had the opportunity to go during the day. I mean, typically we try to plan our investigations where we arrive at the residence or wherever during the day, or like right before it's starting to get dark, so we still have some daylight to be able to kind of do a quick walkthrough and to notice potential hazards, things like that. So it's just good practice to do that.
And Morgan says he'll do a house blessing for $99.
Hey, what about free blessed food?
Free blessed food, and do we get a discount? All right. So anyway, I think I've gotten the basics out of this picture again. Okay, this goes back to the same thing as the picture with the IR thermometer. You're taking a picture of something that has a light source on it, even though that's infrared. If you ever looked into the...
Hey, Mary.
Oh, Mary on there. Hey, Mary. What's up, girl?
We love you and miss you.
Yes.
And praying for you guys out there.
Yeah, definitely. But like I gotta say, when you take a picture of anything that has a light source on it that's equipment-wise, you're gonna get this refraction of the light coming out. If you've even looked into the lens, this is where I was going, you look into the lens of an eye, anything infrared, when you see that thing turn on, I've got an infrared camera right above my head here. You can hear it when it clicks on.
Yeah. And
when you look at it, it looks like it's red. So if you take a picture of that, you're gonna get that same orb effect. So that's the last on that picture. Next shot here. This is at a private residence. The first thing you're going to notice if you look at it, and you can actually see this without me zooming in, but I'm going to zoom in anyway. Look at here. See all this blur. It looks like it's a pinkish color on my end. But you've got a really big ball right here, and then the light going this way. It's not so clear. You can't see it unless you're on top of it, but there's just a little bit more of a ball orb right here. Got a finger? Yes. Yeah, it's got a finger. That's it. But anyway, you see all this light anomaly up here in the top. Now, to an untrained eye, that looks really cool. And actually, later on, I'm going to show you a picture that I can't explain that has a similar phenomenon to this. But let me throw this out here give a minute real quick to anybody that's listening in the chat room. What do you think caused that? Just based on what's in the picture right now that you can see, what caused this anomaly right here? Does anybody want to try to take a guess while I take a drink?
Shrooms.
Guys, don't be
It kind of looks psychedelic.
guys, don't be under the influence of anything on an investigation, no matter how natural it is.
Right. And just a little disclaimer, since it's definitely a hot commodity here lately, is CBD oil. Please be very mindful. Yeah, you can buy it anywhere, but since it's not FDA regulated, you can't control how much of the actual cannabis or even synthetic that is in the product. Yeah, they'll say that it's so many milligrams or however it's measured out, but there's no way to guarantee that because it's not FDA regulated. So even you may get, even with the same batch or lot, that you can get one bottle that may have a higher concentration of the CBD and another bottle that doesn't. I'm just saying that because we've run into a lot of that. I work in the medical. I work in a clinic, so that's just become a big hot and heavy thing right now.
So we've had 3 guesses.
So wait.
No, let me read them to you.
Okay.
So the first one was lens flare.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was dust on the lens.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one was banana smears on the lens.
Nice.
Who do you think said that?
Probably a monkey.
Probably a monkey. So the answer here, actually, it is lens flare. Now, Nick, you mentioned dust on the lens. That can actually do that as well. So, Mary, I swear. So, dust on a lens will do a similar effect. It will also cause an orb. Smears on the lens. That's why you always make sure that whenever you put your camera away, if your lens comes off or you've got a camera or a lens cap, make sure that you're cleaning that lens quite often because it can cause stuff.
Also, extreme temperature changes, especially here in the South, when you are in an air-conditioned home or building, and then you go outside.
Oh, the condensation inside the lens.
And it's humid and hot. That you'll get condensation on the lens, and at first glance, especially when you first walk out and you look, of course, it's very obvious. But as the camera tries to acclimate itself to whatever temperature you're in, you may even just have spots that aren't as visible,
right.
But still is a factor. So be mindful of that.
We had an investigation here a while back where we were, after we had, actually we went and scoped out the place first, and then we had all gone to eat at Cracker Barrel, actually, which is
that's that or Waffle House.
Cracker Barrel is usually pre-investigation. Waffle House is post-investigation.
Because they're the only ones still open.
Right. So went to Cracker Barrel and we were looking at some pictures that had been taken, and there was an anomaly in 3 of them that was in the same place. Well, when the investigator had taken the picture, the first thing was, okay, I see this, I'm gonna take it again. I see it again. And we took 3 pictures, and this anomaly was in all 3 pictures. So when he showed the camera to me, I took a look at it, and I noticed that it looked, it was, I don't know how to explain it. It just looked like a black blob right in the middle of the shot. And just something made me think. I turned, because I was looking on the back, looking on the viewfinder of his camera screen, and I just noticed that the shape of it it never changed. So for some reason, I just turned the camera around and looked at the lens, and right in the dead center of his lens was a little fleck of something. And that was what was showing up in the pictures. So yes, stuff on the camera lens will do that. But this anomaly is caused from the lens flare. Let me zoom back in here.
So ding, 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 Mary wins.
She gets more bananas. Because of this. Now, if you look at this fan configuration here, the lights, they are hexagonal in shape. I'm saying that right?
Ooh.
Hexagonal. But it's 6 flat surfaces. They're all glass. They're all flat. So whenever you take a picture, you got a flash that bounces off of this. Because of the 6 sides, you get a prism style effect, which will throw light into all different corners of the room because of the way that's shaped. Glass, anything you take, whenever you're taking a picture in a room or anywhere, if you've got stuff that's glass or shaped like that, glass fixtures in the room, chandeliers, anything like that, be careful with your flash when you take that picture, because that right there will throw lights all across the room, and that's what it has done here. Leah's playing with all the cats.
Yeah, everything was wrong to me.
All right. The next picture is kind of obvious. Don't take pictures at mirrors. Or if you're going to, don't use your flash that harsh. This was also in a residential investigation. There was I can't remember the exact story of the mirror. I believe this was Livingston. So we won't go into that. It was a residential investigation, so we're not going to talk about it. But there were things that were being seen in the mirror, and we were trying to take the picture so that the flash was going this way so we could actually see the person in the mirror, and the first picture didn't go as planned. But I wanted to use this as an example because there might be somebody that didn't take this picture, that they come across it later and they're like, oh wow, what is that in the mirror right there? That is lens flare.
Ed brought up a good point.
Yes.
Whenever you take a picture, please say flash before you take the picture, please. And if you carry around a flashlight, I personally don't carry around a flashlight. I don't like to carry around anything. I just don't like anything in my hands. I don't know why. It is what it is. But this one is terrible, horrible about shining their flashlight in. So please be mindful of that. That if you do
it's not intentional by any means. And whoever, look at all the laughing faces.
Because they know. They probably know that, oh yeah, I can see that. If they've never personally experienced it, then I'm sure that they can see that from you. But anyway, please be very mindful of that you keep the flashlight at least in the downward position, because, I mean, the point of the flashlight, I would imagine, is to make sure you don't fall in a hole or something so you can see where you're walking to. So, you know, last time I checked, I know I'm not tall, but I mean, I'm 5'5", so surely you're not taking bigger steps than 5'5", and that you would be walking closer to the ground than 5 feet, 5 inches up in the air. Yeah. That's just a little Leah-ism for you. It drives me nuts.
And it's not intentional. It's just
it's not intentional. I get it. You know, the first 1 or 2 times, I'll even give you maybe even a 10 times I forgot. But over many years, and I don't know how many investigations, to this day, in my face every time. Multiple times, still. Okay. So there's that. Anyway.
So, yeah. Wow, I feel like it's time to go.
That was my soapbox. I just can't stand that. Well, I mean, think about it. You're
My
probably in a
my forehead hurts from your browbeating.
you're probably in a dark room. So I mean, think about a flash. Well, how about a consistent LED right in your face? Moving on.
It's not a
So
consistent.
please don't about this picture. You don't even want to anymore.
Just to be mindful, because we actually, okay, so in all seriousness, there's other pictures that have been taken. Because like I said, in this shot, we were trying to take a picture of the mirror. But there's sometimes when you're walking through a building and take, for example, the hospital that we investigated. Whenever you're going down the hallway, there's maybe a room here, room here, room here, room here. You may not be stopping to physically walk in each room, because I've seen investigators that will just snap a picture, snap a picture, snap
As
a
they're
picture.
walking, yeah.
As they're walking down the hall, they're grabbing all these rooms. There may be a mirror or some other glass artifact. Windows will do that.
Metal. I mean, anything metal. We were in a warehouse, and you'll have to remind me, what's that thing that you use where it looks like the little stick man?
Oh, the SLS camera.
SLS camera, we were using that and just kind of, playing around with it and checking out some things. And one thing that we saw was, I think there was a pallet that was shrink wrapped, and then also there was like ductwork, or even like the steel beams that you see in a warehouse. And then there was, is it a heating or an air unit type thing, like the old timey, just hanging?
Yeah.
Got this bubble wrap, yeah, Ed. What was that unit hanging?
It was some type of heating unit is what it was. This old style heating unit. Where she's going at with this is that type of camera. So it's built using basically a Xbox Connect camera, and it shoots out the little laser dots. You don't see them unless you turn on a certain setting, and it will project a stick figure over what it perceives as a person. So like if I'm in front of the camera, it will put the stick figure over me.
Heater unit. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you point it out into a room and something appears where it's a stick figure, then the theory says that camera is picking up something that's you can't see with your own eyes. So I built one of the cameras, did it for less than $10, got the stuff off the internet, bought the camera and the case, and got the software offline for free. So put everything together. The camera works great, but having never used one, I wanted to test it and see exactly what it would do.
And there's one thing too, whenever you get new equipment, know it, test it, get familiar with it before you.
Because guys, there's equipment out there, especially in the early days of paranormal investigating. People are using equipment that's not what it was made for.
Yeah.
I mean, a great example. I mean, again, I'm kind of making fun of myself here, but you've got to. This IR thermometer that I was using in this picture, it's a surface thermometer. And I was using it trying to detect a cold spot in the air. So, of course, with the way I'm shooting that temperature gauge, all I'm getting is the temperature of her hand.
Yeah.
So if I'm lucky, if her hand is cold, then I picked up this cold spot that we picked up. Now I carry a device that has an air ambient temperature in it that can actually detect air temperature. So, like Leah said, whenever you got new equipment, test it, make sure it works as advertised, so to speak. So when I got this, I decided I want to test it out because I'm not fully convinced it actually works. I've read different reviews about it. I've read stuff not even involving paranormal, people that have used it on their gaming systems where the camera will get a glitch and it will pick on a second player in the room, stuff like that. Now some people want to immediately jump to there must be a ghost there trying to play Madden 17 with them. But I don't think you can use the Kinect to play Madden, but you get what I'm saying. So I wanted to test this camera because I wanted to find out the capabilities of it. Now I'm still in the learning phases of it. But like what she said, we learned that we had the camera set towards a shrink wrapped pallet or as bubble wrap, either way. The camera was trying to form a person on the bubble wrap because there was a little bit of light reflecting off that bubble wrap. It tried to make a person out of it. Whenever we pointed it up towards an area, the roof, which had the ceiling, it had the, what do you call it, the crosshatch framework scaffolding, steel scaffolding up there. Because of the shape of the scaffolding, it again tried to project a person up there. And it did the same thing on the heating and air unit. And I'm still not sure why it did it on the heating and air.
Oh, it's a reflective surface.
Reflective surface again. I mean, these are things you have to take into account, these so-called false positives with your equipment. I mean, even with a millimeter EMF detector, anything like that, you want to make sure that you want to eliminate anything that could be naturally causing it. Right. So you can actually get the supernatural things that you're looking for.
Right. And Mary,
you got that?
Let me go to more. Mary said she was on an investigation taking photos and went blind. She had a flash backwards.
Oh, wow.
When she snapped the yeah, probably only takes once. Like, I'll never do that again. But yeah. Yeah, debunking is very important. I think it's just wise practice as an investigator, not just in paranormal, but as an investigator, that you always explore and debunk or test everything for a natural or physical reason or cause. And then when you can't give that, when all of that is exhausted, now let's look at, hey, maybe this is paranormal or supernatural or unnatural, whatever. I think that's just wise.
That's kind of where this segueing this whole presentation is going for, is I hate to use the old adage, you can't judge a book by its cover. Somebody pops in and looks at this picture right here. Oh, there's, this must be my great Aunt Bessie hanging out in the corner. This is something just flying around in my room. It must be my dad must be keeping an eye on me. This is a fairy flying over a lightsaber. Thanks, Ed, for that one. You can't, when it comes to investigating, you have to dig in. I mean, that's the purpose of the word investigate. You can't use the superficial details. And like Leah said, rule out the natural, and then you have to start looking at the supernatural possibilities there. So this last picture that I'm going to show, this is one that I actually, out of everything that I've shown you here, I don't have an explanation for this one. So I can only rule this one thus far as likely paranormal. And I'll probably have to do a lot of zooming in on this picture as well. This picture was taken at a
shadow out of it and cover up this.
Just cover up that light there. So I'm going to be wise with this. This is at a location near in our town. Most people have probably been there, but again, I'm not going to advertise it because I don't want influx of people going up there and getting in trouble. Because this was taken during my days going places I wasn't supposed to be without permission. I know, right? This picture is picture's over 20 years old. So we're in a cemetery. Taking a picture of this tree. Now, there is no light in the cemetery other than the camera that I'm using. I don't have my flashlight turned on. I don't have anything around me. My hands are not wrapped around the lens or anything to cause any kind of reflection. But if you look, similar to what I showed you in the last picture, there is a red aura all around the top of this tree. Now, was there mist in the or a fog or something? Very possible. So,
or even a reflection. Was the moon out?
I don't recall. It's 20 years ago.
Possibilities to think of.
There might have been. I can't remember which. I think the camera that I used actually even had a light on the front that flickered before before the flash went. It may have picked that up. So but that's not the part of the picture that to me is the most interesting. Right over here. Now that's about as big as I can get it zoomed in on this picture, but it's in the picture. It's about 3/4 of a halo. Now you can tell by when I zoom I'll zoom back in on it, but when I zoom out to the regular picture, the camera has not moved, or otherwise the tree wouldn't be clear. There would be a blur effect to the camera, to the tree. There are no street lights. My vehicle was not even the direction that I was taking the picture. I drove a truck at the time, and the truck was parked further down from where this tree was at. So there's no light in the area. The camera wasn't moved, but I've got this little circle. And you'd have to zoom in on it really, really close to look at it. But it's broken up. It kind of looks like it got caught in movement. To this day, I don't have an explanation for this picture. I have been back numerous times over the years to this place and have even looked out to make sure that there wasn't a reflector or some type of road marking identifier or something in the woods nearby to mark, in that area that will cause that type of reflection. There's nothing there. So I have no explanation for what this is. That's the kind of things you want to look for. Once you've ruled out, we went through all the other pictures, you saw what the moisture looked like, you saw what dust, insects looked like. You can even tell based on the way this tree is in the picture, that's in the distance. So as far away, because the light on the tree, my flash took up most of the tree. This is off in the distance. My flash wouldn't have caught something that far off. Theories? Anybody watching have a theory? Do what? Have a theory or anything?
That's what I'm looking at right now.
So that Mary says.
This right here, is this another branch off in?
I think so.
Okay.
It's a very old gnarled tree. Because
it looks like that something's there, but this is actually, it goes, it's about the width of maybe
Mary,
a little.
Mary, are you seeing this where Leah's pointing at?
Is this the area, Mary, that you're talking about?
I'll zoom back in on it.
Up in here? Up in here? I don't need to do that.
Yeah, it said this was before drones. Yeah.
We'll see if she responds.
Jonah, you have a lot of faith in Edward.
What do you say?
If Edward Morgan says it can't be debunked, I believe it.
What is this?
I don't know.
By the way, y'all, I haven't seen these pictures, so I'm seeing them for the.
This picture is actually pre-Leah. So.
But I mean, still, I don't typically review pictures, so I haven't seen anything.
So I've got a lot of pictures from this particular set of photographs, and initially I would have thought that maybe it was the reflectors off of my truck or something, because there's a couple of pictures that I've taken that my truck is in the background. I know my truck is in the background, and I can see the lights from it. But like I said, this is I wish I had actually put up a picture of my truck. I could show you the difference between it and the light that you're seeing here.
Now these right here.
She says no in the middle. Let me zoom back out.
up, or I'm just trying to figure out where she.
Okay, Mary, when you say in the middle, so here's the picture non-zoomed in. The middle, right down here at ground level, up in the tree,
Or further all the up top.
or all the way up.
Now these, you see these little lights right here? These are spider eyes.
Fortunately, I don't have.
You can have them, Daniel.
I don't have any pictures of this, but this is actually another thing that you can capture when you're taking pictures, especially if you're outdoors. You take a picture in a room that you don't, or a room or an outdoor area that you don't know too well, and you see two glowing things that are like this, you're looking at the eyes of an animal. So you want to be careful, especially in this area. You've got raccoons, bobcats, lions, tigers, bears. No, I'm just kidding.
Where was, I mean, I'm not saying tell me the physical name of the place, but what type of place were you at in this picture?
This is a cemetery.
Like, you need to
Yes, Ed, you did.
take me here.
You've been there. No, actually, you haven't been there.
So I need to go.
So Ed, when this picture was taken, it was me and one other individual, a friend of mine that unfortunately I don't speak to anymore, was with me on this. Ed and I have been up here at least once, and Ed did have a what do we call it? Experience. I'm so sorry.
Is this the one where
We
you
live
lied to me,
you in.
but you didn't lie to me this tree. This is something else that they do.
It works.
I always don't, want to go. Sometimes you just want to hang out at home.
Ed just gave a keyword.
So sometimes I will not, or I'll choose to not Trixie out outside at night.
You can be a homebody.
I'll let them do it. But if sometimes, anyway, long story short, they'll FaceTime me or whatever when they're out to see if anything is, if I pick up on anything. So I think, was this that night?
Same location.
Same night?
Different location. Same location, different night.
Okay.
Remember, this picture's 20 years old.
Oh, okay. So there is activity actually in this cemetery, not on grave sites specifically, but there's just a landmark, I guess you could call it, that has significance. And this is what he was starting to tell the story about. There was Ed had an experience, and actually I saw what was causing all of that. But I would be really interested now to check this out.
And then you go up there. We can do a live.
I think you were finishing your story about Ed and his experience.
Oh, I think Ed's already posted in the chat. It's okay, Mary. She said she has to keep refreshing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
So what Ed is referring to, it involves a certain type of ritual with a certain group.
Okay.
Should I just quit being cute? Okay, so it's Masonic and order. That is just what he's referring to is Masonic in origin, and he heard that. So we won't go any further than that. There was more to it. What? So yeah. But like I said, Ed's already posted in the chat what was happening. So Leah, like I didn't, because I think I've said this multiple times. I don't pick up on anything. I am as spiritually dead as a doornail when it comes to picking up and determining what's going on with something spiritual. But Leah was able over Facebook, not Facebook, over FaceTime to actually get a visual of what it was, and was actually able to identify based on her description of what she was seeing what it was. And it actually fit in with a lot of the local lore. And that's something about Leah. She doesn't research about something unless we ask her to. But normally when we want her to go in and pick something up, we don't tell her anything about it, so that there's no confirmation bias. There's not already something ingrained in her to go ahead and try to give that answer. But she knew nothing of the legend of this place. Like she said, she's never been here.
I've been there.
She's never been here
Right,
to this place,
to that.
which is not far from the same location that Ed is talking about.
But pretty much when I do go, like I've been to the cemetery proper, I guess you could say. But in cases like this, when I go, there's it's kind of a high pressure, almost type of awkward thing, because they're like, okay, we're going to take you here and see if you pick up anything. So it's just kind of that moment of, me getting there, and they're just kind of staring at me. Okay, I can't focus. I can't focus if y'all are staring at me, so it throws me off. But anyway, it's just pretty much, I'll just explain what I see, and then it's just a lot of kind of cryptic conversation. Like they'll exchange looks, or they'll look at me and go, okay,
and
okay,
and to answer your question, it's in the same vicinity. I think it's on the other side.
So yeah, I don't know anything about anything, and there's times after research has been done or whatever, then we'll get together, and after I have given my impressions and what I see and everything, then they'll be like, okay, so here's the background.
Actually, one of the things that, speaking of cryptic things, Ed, I think, if I remember correctly, this tree is not far from that grave that you showed me when we went up there last time. You'll know what I'm talking about. I don't want to say anything to her yet.
Yeah, I don't want to know nothing. So I'll get back with you, Mary, and see.
Mary sent me an edited version of the picture showing what she's seeing.
Oh, okay.
And I'll let you, that's what I was trying to show you, but I'll show it to you later. Are you going to look at it now?
No, I don't want to see it at all. I thought you were showing me the words.
No. Showing you that where she said what she said she saw in that picture.
And then I don't want to see it.
Don't want to see it?
Until
Okay.
I've been there.
All right, so we won't see that. All right, so that's basically it for the presentation on Orbs. The whole purpose, looping back around, again, it comes down to safety. Now, I know it doesn't seem like it, but you've got to understand that if you go into, especially, let's look at it from the untrained, the inexperienced, a homeowner taking pictures and they see dust and they think it's paranormal, and in reality they're just a bad housekeeper. But okay, maybe that was harsh. Maybe they have insulation leaking out of their ceiling they didn't know about. How about that? Is that a better story? Anyway, guys, you gotta have a little bit of humor in this. You gotta be crazy to work on this.
Super judgmental.
I'm not judgmental.
You're just a crappy housekeeper.
They're out there. I'm kidding.
Well, I get it, but I mean, but you can't really control. Are you going to the realm of dust? I mean, even in that realm, you can't control even if you do dust.
Right. Okay,
a lot.
Anyway, I didn't mean to offend anybody that does this all the time in the house. So,
Easy, buddy. Easy.
So my point being, you take a picture, say you're just taking a picture of your new coffee table, and you've got all these little orbs popping up, whether they be light reflection from something in there or it be dust in the air. You think, oh man, there's something in my house, so you start taking more pictures. You go out and you buy a recorder, and then you start trying to do EVP sessions because you're convinced something's in your home. Or you bring in a team that also may think along the same lines you do, that those orbs are something paranormal. So now they're in here trying to stir up something, trying to gain activity, or trying to get activity stirred up so that they can get evidence. There's two possibilities that can go here. I'll let Leah describe the second one because she describes it better than I do. But the first one, if you're doing something like that, you're opening the potential, you're inviting the potential for things to come in because you're trying to make contact with something. We have things in this field that are what Leah and I like to call transients or passerby. They're not something that just hangs out in your location or may come into your home. If they think that, if they know that there's somebody there that can sense them or that they can get attention, they'll stop and they'll try to, make their presence known some way. So if you're doing something like that, someone's in your home, there may be nothing in your home whatsoever, but you're doing all this investigating and whatnot because on the surface, you feel like you've got that type of activity, you can invite that type of activity into your home and when you originally didn't have it, and now you really do have problems.
Especially things that are malevolent or demonic in nature. I mean, it's scriptural. That's what their purpose is. They are roaming the earth, seeking, looking for individuals that they can manipulate, devour, destroy. So, yeah, transient, they're just kind of passing by, and if they see somebody that is going through a lot of struggles in their life or just compounded issue after issue, then they're like, oh, hey, let me hang out here. Or if you have a home where there's just constant discord and fighting and stress and things like that, they prey on that kind of stuff. Or even if they're just transient and passing by and they see you engaging in activities in private that are vices, addictions, things like that, then they're going to say, oh, hey, this looks like somebody that I can mess with and then ultimately destroy. I mean, that's their purpose. And you can't really take it, I guess, personal. It's just that's what they're here for, is to destroy lives. So it's not, and then there's cases of it's generational, it's more than one demon, or maybe just one that's all the time oppressing or manipulating a family over through generations for whatever reason. You just have to really be mindful of that. That's why, like he was saying, you don't want to do those types of things or engage in those types of activities or behaviors that attract those kinds of things. And especially, and yeah, that's what they'll do. They'll kind of kick up some dust, or they'll, make some racket here and there just to see how you react, or just to see what you're going to do about it or what you're not going to do about it. Whenever you do have those instances, don't automatically get into fear mode. You have authority in your home. That's your oasis, your haven. So speak against that. You have no place to. You have no authority here through the blood of Jesus. That you do not belong here. And they can't say, but those folks that are, hey, I keep hearing this, or I keep hearing that, and then they start getting more drawn to it, and then noticing it more, or not really noticing it more, but it's going to be even that much more active because
so they become hypersensitive, and there's the potential that they're going to pick up on things that are not even have anything to do with it that they assume is automatically paranormal.
So then they're just doing videos, or maybe of their kids or themselves, or taking pictures or whatever in their home. And now they start, because they are hypersensitive, now they're starting to notice little things, or, hey, did you hear that in this video or this video clip? You know, that's weird.
And that's one of the first things we tell people. It's like whenever stuff starts trying to antagonize, because sometimes, I mean, some people will catch it early. You're like, hey, you know, this is happening, you know, this is going on, you know, I need some help. It's like, well, the first thing we tell people, and believe me, I understand how hard it is you can't give it the attention that it wants.
Right. And so when you start capturing that stuff, then what is your first kind of inclination of what you want to do? Well, then you start recording a little bit more. And then the next thing you know, you're recording all the time, and then it becomes all consuming. And then now you're just, everything is just kind of going bananas and nuts in your house, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm just eat up with it, when it could have really been cut off in the beginning of how you reacted to it. And
I know it's a fictional account, but the movie, I can't remember how long ago it came out, White Noise,
oh gosh, yeah.
that is a perfect example of basically how not to do things. Because the man got so, what was it, his wife died or something? I don't know, it's been so long since I've seen the movie. He was trying to make contact with her because he was convinced that there was another side, that it literally enveloped his whole existence.
Yeah, it will become all-consuming, and then the next thing you know, now you're just eat up with stuff in your house. I like to use this example. I mean, you're going to, whatever you entertain is going to stay. We all have those family members or those people that, you know, show up at our house we may not be particularly fond of, but they show up at our house, and you know, they're sitting in your living room, and as long as you sit there and talk to them and entertain them, they're going to stay. You ever have those people that just will never leave? Like, okay, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, it's 2 o'clock, hey, I gotta go to work in the morning, you know, and they still, as long as you sit there and entertain, they are not going to leave. But as the homeowner or the owner, if you get up and say, you don't live here, you don't belong here, you need to get out of my house, they're going to leave. So, I mean, as long as you sit there and talk things and entertain them, yeah, they're going to stick around. And then they're going to be like, hey, you know, they're not telling me to leave, and they're still kind of entertaining me and talking to me, and they're just really, and when I say entertain, I don't mean that, not in all cases that you're happy about it. Entertaining means that you're giving it recognition, you're giving it attention. That's a big word, attention. So I'm like, hey, why don't you come over and, you know, bring over anybody else you want to bring over, because they're not going to tell us to leave. So yeah, anyway, it's the same kind of concept.
And the other method, like I said, I was going to let Leah explain this one because she explained it better than me. Whenever people do that, they can, how was it you described it? They can cause their own activity through their own
We've
fear.
even come across this where there's nothing there, but with, I mean, absolutely nothing paranormal, no spirit, nothing. But through their imagination, letting it run away with them, they've actually created through that fear, I mean, through anything, the words we speak, all of that, we create an energy. We are energy beings, okay? So, let's through that, you can even create your own energy and even give it a personality. You can even give it a back history or, whatever, just through the words you're thinking or the imagination that you have. I mean, God gave us the ability to be creative, to have a brain, to use it, things like that. So we are imaginative creatures. And so you can actually create your own entity to a degree, and it has the appearance of being supernatural, but when in all essence, it's just something that has been created just through the behaviors and through the words that the person has spoken and just their imagination. So be mindful of that too.
So what question? So there are some out there that would say you just described a poltergeist.
A poltergeist?
Correct.
Well,
Because there
sure.
are some people that think that poltergeist energy is created from a person, not particularly an entity or something demonic. People. I think the main target group are young teens going through trauma, puberty, and they create such energy in their lives that's why poltergeist can literally translate it into German. It just means noisy ghost. So
well,
it's
I have two theories on poltergeist.
Okay, so it just causes things to move around, a lot of psychokinetic activity. So, and what you're describing with it being power of the mind sounds very similar.
And typically that's the name it's given. I don't really. Yes, I'm very familiar with the term poltergeist. I don't really think it's a thing. I think it's one of two things. I think it's, what I just described about that person creating that own energy and actually, in essence, giving it personality and making it what it is. That's why you hear a lot of, poltergeist activity typically surrounds like your adolescent, preteen, teenager type group, because think about all the emotion, puberty, all those things that they're going through, all of those whole spectrum of emotion that can be magnified in so many ways. So they can create their own energy there, and it can appear as being something that is I guess I would call it like a legit spirit activity. Yes, it's not just in their mind, but it is an energy that they have created. My second theory of that is that it's demonic. So it's one or two things, and that's just my opinion. Sherlock's on his laptop, and he's ginormous. So
if you saw him in my lap, he dwarfs me.
He still thinks he's a little baby, so he tries to fit in the most narrowest spots, and then it's just he's all over everything. But anyway, so it's demonic, where it's actually being brutal and aggressive, and initially, a bully, in other words. So those are my two opinions on poltergeist activity. Is it's energy that's just been created through those types of means, and then also, or either it's demonic. That's just me. Hey, Kevin.
Kevin is our outdoor cat.
He's staring at us through the glass door.
We're crazy cat people. What can I say? We got 3 indoor cats. We've got 2 outdoor cats.
All right, so I just rattled on a whole lot. I hope that makes sense. Okay. But there's been locations that we've been on where it's nothing. It gives the appearance of being spiritual activity, and there's really not a way. Well, I'm sure there's probably some, and you know more about technical and data type stuff better than I do, but I can tell just through discernment there's no origin to this. It's created, not conjured up. It's created. just through, it's just energy manifesting as whatever emotion or whatever imagination has been amplified in the atmosphere.
It's kind of like that old saying, if you tell a lie enough times, it becomes true.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of the same deal. If you put that much belief in something, you can, in essence, in a way, will it into being.
Hey, Wade.
That's Chad's brother.
Hey,
Chad's
Wade,
brother.
Chad's brother.
Oh, cat.
Okay, so yeah, any input, comments, questions? We've
We've been rolling
Oh,
for
gosh.
We've been rolling for 2 hours.
okay. Are you tired of us yet? So yeah, we'll probably wrap this up.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a very eventful night. I mean, we covered a lot. Leah broke a light bulb.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. So yeah, anything? I know there's a little bit of a delay, so we'll wait
Yeah.
just a little bit.
We'll give it another minute. Let's see. We've been 2 hours and 11 minutes. We'll wrap it up at 2 hours 15. So we'll give it 4 more minutes. We give everybody an opportunity to jump in and ask anything before we sign off.
But what we'd like to do, we've really been enjoying doing these lives in place of our monthly newsletter. It's a lot easier to explain things in this type of media rather than through an article. And even in an article, you're limited in space and word count. So this allows you to expound on certain things, or if somebody has a question, we can go ahead and already address it instead of you having to wait and us contact you. So I think this is working a lot better. What we would like to work to is maybe periodically throughout the month is pop in, maybe not 2 hour long sessions, but pop in for maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or even an hour. And just, hey, let's just have a, what do you call them? Like a sit down discussion, maybe not any one particular topic, but hey, maybe something's been on your mind.
Wade's in Savannah.
Oh, I love Savannah. Love Savannah. Talk about a active place. I've had many experiences in Savannah. But anyway,
And I hope y'all like this format a little bit better. We tried to go with a little less formal this go around. I mean, we're
not at our kitchen table.
not at our kitchen table. I mean, in all seriousness, this was my notes. This was it. Now, but the last one we had like 2 and 3 pages of notes apiece. So I mean, we had our basic outline here, and we left open enough for some discussion with everybody. And you guys really brought it to the table this time. Thank you for interacting with us. So like this is more comfortable. It's more of a, I don't want to call it a town hall meeting.
No.
But it's more like
it's more intimate.
It's more like we're just sitting around having coffee. Except, Leah's got her Mountain Light, and I've got my tea.
But and plus this allows us. I mean, we're still tweaking this and
Coffee with Mike and Leah.
And trying to make it more informative and enjoyable for you guys and more interactive. But implementing this aspect of where we can actually show things instead of saying, just trying to describe something and be like, so look at this type thing. So I think this has really worked out for us.
I think it's
been helpful. But yeah, any suggestions you may have also, I mean, we're very open to that, of what you would maybe like to see in the future or what you suggest would be better. Yeah, always open to suggestions. But we enjoy spending time with you guys and just chatting about stuff, talking about stuff. Do you have anything?
No, we're at the 2 hour 15-minute mark, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Guys, please, again, if you haven't shared this video, please share it. If there's anybody that you know of that would benefit from the information given here, share them, tag them in it, let them know. And
also, yeah, if you are enjoying this type of format and how are you utilizing our TV and things like that, please just drop us a comment just to let us know, or if you need suggestions.
yeah, and always, if there's ever a topic that you would like us to cover, sometimes it's something you want to suggest, something that you may not know about, or you've always wanted to know about, or you just want to hear our opinion on it, just message us, shoot us an email, visit us online, and we will.
Or
we'll jump in
also,
there.
if you've come across a picture, maybe you've taken a picture or a video, now since we have this set up, and you would like us to show it and discuss it, please feel free to do that, and we'll be more than happy to. Maybe one of those things that we just do throughout the month. We're like, hey, somebody sent us this photo and would like us to, display it. Let's discuss type thing. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be anything prepared on our part. We'll be more than happy to hop on and chat. Well, definitely. You can visit our webpage. It's www.paranormalhelpministry.com.
And it looks like this. This is another beautiful thing about having this.
Also, I know Mary is a very experienced and seasoned investigator. If Mary, if you want to put the links to your Facebook and whatever else you've got, please feel free to do that. Also, evidently where our Facebook page is. That's how you found our live. So, you're always welcome to visit us there. Again, we're going to try to post more on our Facebook.
When you go to our website at paranormalhelpministry.com, our phone number is here at the top, it's 423-402-0386. Or you can drop us a line. We've got a contact form right here. Just put your name, email address, and message, and click the little send button right there. Or if you're old-fashioned, you just want to use actual email address, it's paranormalhelp@outlook.com. But this format also sends to that same email address. So you've got two options there.
Or you can send us on our Facebook page, message through Messenger, or whatever.
Right.
There's multiple ways.
So there's no excuse not to get in touch with us.
Right. And even our phone number, you don't necessarily have to call it. You can text it.
Yeah, we do. We get text messages too.
So, yeah, I know a lot of people don't want to talk on the phone. So if you want to text. We'll get that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's plenty of ways you can contact us.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for spending the evening with us. We'll see you again, if not sooner, definitely next month.
Always on the first of the month.
Unless there's some extenuating circumstance, and we'll always let you know ahead of time if something like that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Thank you.